Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Impossible. I am your co-host, Austin, and out here again in the lovely valley of Salt Lake City, Utah. Incredible view. So today, we're going to go off script a little bit and have a bit of a heart-to-heart, I suppose, because those of you who've been following, or those of you who just simply know, I have been getting tests done this entire year following my trip to Houston, Texas for the CD30 CAR T-cell clinical trial, and in hopes that that would have taken care of my first relapse. And in April, I had found a lymph node above the right clavicle, which is, again, where kind of the hot spot's been. And so had tests done and showed a little bit of activity, but nothing that seemed out of the ordinary. But we certainly insisted upon continuing the testing since the node was still present. And so then at the end of June, we had tests done, and it showed an SUV, the sugar uptake value, that was a little bit higher than the liver, which is what they use as a kind of a standard or marker when reading anything else in your body for the PET scan or PET scan. So that all went fine, and we just needed to keep an eye on it. So we scheduled again for the last week of August here. And the test here has shown an SUV that is 4 times the amount from the liver, and about 2.5 times greater than, in terms of the lymph node itself, about 2.5 times greater than what it was in June. And there is a second lymph node that has pretty much appeared out of nowhere, also with a high SUV. So what we can deduce from this test, and with such high value SUVs, is that I have suffered yet another relapse. So, what does this mean? Well, this means that I have to continue with treatment now for a 3rd or 4th time, depending on how the technicalities would be organized, I suppose. And those of you who do have experience with cancer know that the more times you relapse, what this basically means is that the cancer's been able to leave a few behind and have had the chance, the opportunity, and quite possibly could have learned from these previous lines of treatment. And you have the possibility of adaptation. You have the possibility of mutation. But most of the time you have the arrival of a more and more aggressive response from the cancer cells. So a few things to take away from this year in general with the testing is, one, well, we need to be super thankful that I've been having these tests done, on repeat. Pretty much a decision I take it upon myself to have done. It wasn't under the recommendation of anybody, but after the first relapse, I wanted to be a bit more proactive in keeping an eye on things, and I'm super happy that I did, because we've been able to catch this. If this is cancer, which again we can quite safely state that it is, if it is cancer, we've caught it at an early point in the relapse, and so that would be some good news in terms of the intensity of our response to the grow back would be. Secondly, to verify what it is, I do have a core needle biopsy scheduled for a couple Wednesdays from now. And so what that'll tell us is obviously what it is and if there's presence of anything else. If it is cancer, what type of cancer it is. Has it mutated? Has it not mutated? The hope is that it hasn't mutated. Again, as I've said in the past, I've drawn a pretty long straw in terms of types of cancers to fight. So I don't want it to turn into something even more aggressive. Just a personal preference, I suppose. And so we'll have the biopsy done and we'll have the results from that in around a week or so, just depending upon length of time for a result to come from a biopsy. My gosh. And so what does this mean going forward after the biopsy if it is a return of the cancer? We will be going into a immunotherapeutic / chemotherapeutic regimen. Most likely will be pembrolizumab and GVD. I can't name off the GVD at the moment. Actually, might be able to. It's gemcitabine, vinorelbine, and liposomal doxorubicin. So, doxorubicin I have had encounters with before, but not this particular type of doxorubicin. What the difference is between the two, I don't know. But then you have vinorelbine, I believe is what it is. The drug is in the same family as vinblastine and vincristine. And then the gemcitabine is just a part of the mixture. I know gemcitabine and the doxorubicin, liposomal doxorubicin, are two of the, I'm pretty sure it's those two, are the two of the three chemos that are known and are used within the fight against classic Hodgkin's lymphoma. And then I'm fairly certain that the vinorelbine is just something that they throw into there together. Just in terms of data, it's shown that having this set, this triple threat has a higher efficacy than just the two that are well-known players in terms of attacking this particular type of cancer, like I said before. So, and then the pembrolizumab is the immunotherapeutic drug. It's a PD-1 inhibitor. So basically, it's what it's able to do. It, as well as the other PD-1 inhibitors, do is they go in and basically, so the cancer cell, and this was explained to me not too long ago, so it's fresh in my mind, and I'm going to try to do it without butchering it. So shout outs to our fearless leader, Matt Hill. But basically, the cancer cell is present. The T cells, the soldier cells of your immune system, go out and they have what are the PD-1 kind of attachments, arms. We could for layman's terms, in my case, my terms as well. They go and then they attach to the PD-L1 or L2 arms upon what needs to be killed. The B cell tells the T cell to go and kill it. Well, the cancer cell, what it's able to do is when your CD, in my case 4 or 8, the T cells go and attach to the to the cancer cell. The cancer cell, the T cell attaches to it. The T cell says, "Hey, I'm going to kill you," and then the cancer cell, what it's been able to do is it's able to send back a signal saying, "No, you don't need to worry about me. Move on." wicked stuff. And in this case here, what happens is the PD-1 inhibitor goes and somehow is able to negate that signal from the cancer cell telling the T cell to just continue on. It's able to negate that somehow. That's where rabbit hole that I don't understand. But basically it inhibits that signal, or it stops that signal from the cancer cell telling the T cell to move on, and the T cell goes in and is able to kill the cancer cells. So you have that immunotherapeutic drug with the 3 chemotherapeutic drugs. And that would be over 2 cycles. Each cycle is 21 days. The Pembro, just to call it for now, the Pembro is given on day 1 of each of those cycles. And then the 3 chemos are given on days 1 and day 8 of the 3-week cycle. And then we just repeat that once, hopefully once, and then I will have a following PET scan to verify that I've gone into technical complete remission or complete response. If I do show that I'm in complete response, that is where I'll have a fleeting period of washout to somewhat recover from the chemo delivery, because the Pembro, this particular PD-1 inhibitor, Pembro, is not too toxic on the body. The 3 chemotherapeutic drugs, yes, they're chemos. They are toxic. So I have a small window of a washout period, and then comes the part of treatment that I inevitably could not avoid, and that is the autologous stem cell transplant. This is where I am prepped with a bunch of pulmonary function test. I'll have an echocardiogram and a few other tests just to verify, just to make sure that I'm good to go into the protocol or the treatment, and then I will go through a machine that basically they'll pump me up with a bunch of medicine that tells my bone marrow to produce a bunch of stem cells, kind of like an override switch, and then they'll hook me up to a machine that will go in, come back out. Basically what it does is it pulls out my blood that has the extra amount of stem cells, and then it pumps my blood back into me after a machine collects those stem cells. Autologous means that it's stem cells from my body. So at the moment, I don't have to worry about, or ever have to worry about, hopefully, that I don't have to worry about what's called grafts versus host disease, which comes from an allogenic transplant, which means donor-based. So they'll collect my stem cells, pump the blood back into me, thankfully, and then they will go and hold on to them, put them in a freezer. I don't know, and then comes the nasty part of this type of treatment. So the reason why they have to collect your stem cells is because you go through 6 straight days of high dose chemo. What this does is it goes in and it wipes out your entire immune system, every cell, like every lymphocyte, B cell, T cell, everything. It wipes out your entire immune system, wipes out your white blood cells and your basically all your red blood cells, because the chemo is given to a dose that shuts down your bone marrow. It shuts down your bone marrow's ability to produce stem cells that turn into your fast replicating cells that turn into everything that you need. Immune cells, white blood cells, and so on and so forth, to other things that, But my focus are obviously those three. And so you go through 6 days of this chemotherapeutic regimen. I don't know the drugs. Personally, between you and I don't know if I'm going to even bother with learning about those drugs. I don't know if I'm going to look at them. I don't know if, while I'm being delivered the medication, if I'm going to even bother to ask questions about it. I most likely will as I've tried to be as firm and sturdy and stoic as possible throughout this journey, I reserve those 6 days to turn a blind eye. I very much reserve the right to do that, and I most likely will. So then you have those 6 days, then you have a day off, which is day -1. As the day -8 to day -2 are the chemo days. Day -1 is a day off. Yay. And then day 0 is where you have the introduction, the transplant of your stem cells. And what that's supposed to do, and what it hopefully does, is kickstarts your bone marrow to start producing cells again. What happens there, how it happens, why it happens, I don't know. All I know is that they reintroduce your stem cells, and then things are supposed to get better from there. For this period, so for starting with the chemo to day 0, and then for 3 weeks post of the injection from day 0, I will be in quarantine. I will have my own private suite there in the hospital, in the cancer center, and no. I don't know if I'm allowed to have somebody in there. I'm assuming I can have at least one person, hopefully. Otherwise, I might go insane. I don't know. I mean, I'm used to working alone, so wouldn't be too bad. But it'll just be like, little to no contact, probably no contact for those 3 weeks, because I have no immune system. I have little to no white blood cells. So my body has absolutely no ability to fight off anything. In those moments, the common cold could kill me. It's that kind of situation. Obviously, I'll be on medication to try to help along the production of those cells. And I'm sure a plethora of antibiotics, antifungal, antibacterial medication as well. But so that's 3 weeks there in the hospital that I'll have. And then if I'm doing okay, if numbers are to a certain standard, what that is, I don't know. I don't know what those values are, but if I achieve a certain standard, then I will be able to leave the hospital and then continue my quarantine. The quarantine will certainly have to persist for 1 more month at minimum, because then 1 month post hospital leave, I will be required to receive my childhood immunization shots, which is wild to me to think about. But again, as I stated before, this is a complete wipeout of your immune system. 0 cells are left behind, which is, kind of the reason why we're doing this, is to because obviously in my case, we've had fantastic responses from lines of treatment before, but somehow a few cells remain from the cancer, and that's all you need. And so that includes the B cells with your immune system, which are the memory cells. So they don't have, your new B cells, are that of, naivety. They don't know what to fight off because they're brand new. So I'll have to get those shots done. And so then starting from the end of month 1 into month 2 post-hospital will be, I'm assuming a slow integration back into the public, contact with people and stuff like that. Again, I'll be on a bunch of medications to help mitigate any risks in terms of any type of infections or so on and so forth. But ultimately, it'll have to still be fairly separated and in reclusion. So gives me plenty of time to read and listen to podcasts, I suppose. And I can also record like this because obviously this setting here is intimate, and I can be secluded for these recordings here. And I've been working through a few ideas, which I'll share here in a second. But so then you have the end of month 2 post-hospital leave, and somewhere in here I know there's going to be another PET scan. Whether it's recommended or not, I'm definitely going to have one. And then it's just a slow process back into, what some call reality. For me, it has turned into obviously not a dream, not a nightmare though. It certainly hasn't been a nightmare. I've had the moments, in the midst of treatment where I've woken up and said, oh, darn, I wish that was all occurring in a different realm, a different reality, a different dimension, different universe. But it's not. This is reality as I've had to come to know. So we forge on. This is something that's happened in the past. Something out of my control. Not out of the control of my immune system. Unfortunately, it had a defect for a moment, and now I've had to deal with this external factor on a scale that is felt to be tipped completely out of my control to the other side. And Matt had sent me a reel just today, actually. It was of a famous chef, world famous chef. I don't know if I can say his name because I'm not going to be able to quote him precisely. I didn't write it down. Don't know why I didn't. But to paraphrase, was that everyone is dealt an incredibly unjustifiable and and gruesome hand. And in his opinion, the earlier that is dealt, the better you are in terms of coming out from that. And the more you are able to withstand and almost given the opportunity to embrace dancing within that storm, within the ring. What I've learned is that facing the storm and charging towards it can hopefully mean that I can come out of it sooner than what I would if I were to even just stand my ground, which is still very honorable. Stand firm, let it hit you. Or especially if I were to just not brace myself at all and fall into a bit of limbo. That I would see that as putting yourself in a position to experience the storm for quite some time. And I'm not willing to do that, and I'm not going to do that. I see this as an opportunity to charge towards the storm that I've had to come to face. I didn't have a choice in this. I didn't want to go through this. I don't want to go through this. But the hand I've been dealt, whether it be because of poor choices in the past or not, unfortunately we'll never know why this came about. But I'm happy to be dealing with it now rather than later in life, because this means that, and I've already had a wonderful tasting of this, is that the individual that I've been able to become through these times is an Austin that I had always envisioned, but couldn't necessarily see with clear vision, with a clear perspective. It's always been foggy. It's always been difficult to see what I could become. No matter how much I had hoped and dreamed of who I could become. And I can say that with a little bit of excitement for this treatment. I obviously and honestly don't know who will be coming out on the other side. I know it'll be Austin, some version of me, and I know that I'll be stronger. But to be blunt, I've been fighting off this unrelenting feeling of engaging with this sort of disconnectum with reality, with the day-to-day, with your daily commute, your daily exercise, your daily eating, your everything that is reality as we know it. It's been difficult to to stay engaged with that. Having already been an introvert coming into this, and trying not to fall to my knees and curl up into a ball, I do have to be honest, brutally honest with you all, in that I don't know where I will be when I come out of that transplant. Plan for the worst, hope for the best. That's certainly been keeping me going. And we planned for the worst. We did plan for this transplant to be a possibility. We hoped it wouldn't. We had hoped that I wouldn't have to go through this, and that I could enjoy some time without having to worry about fighting for my life involuntarily. But it's turned into a very voluntary and willing to face these battles. I've turned into a very voluntary and willingly I'm willingly able, and I'm ready to fight. There we go. Spit it out eventually. I'm ready to fight. I'm ready for this to be over. I'm ready for this to be done. We have things to accomplish. We have people to meet. We have things to do. We have lives to better. Unfortunately, for the coming months, I'm forced to look in, to be a bit more introspective, to take a moment away from to impacting others' lives, and some would say that I can continue to battle for others, but in this time, in these coming months, I need to focus on myself. And I don't regret making that decision. This is a moment where I have to be selfish. Not in a narcissistic way, obviously. In a way that I deem to be most valuable and most useful for my time in battling for more time on this beautiful green planet. This small pebble orbiting a insignificant star circling around a supermassive black hole in the middle of our dear Milky Way galaxy, of our galaxy that is insignificant, not unique compared to the hundreds of millions to trillions of other galaxies in our observable universe. But what does make it unique is that we all have the opportunity to experience all of that insignificance individually, but ultimately together. And this experience may be dealt with a heavy hand for myself in particular, and for millions and millions of others, billions of others. But I will continue to fight to not take that for granted, and to do the best that I can with the time that I have here, however long that may be. So, yeah. There's an update for everybody. One that I had hoped. I didn't hope. There was no hope. There was planning for something to go great, or there was planning for something to go bad. And now that something has gone, not even bad, negatively, towards my outlook of life physically, it will not diminish my outlook on life mentally. As I discussed with Matt, no matter the short-term and long-term side effects that I'll be experiencing with this type of treatment, ultimately, if I can keep my head right, if I can keep my head on my shoulders, stay steady, stay firm, I will be able to get back to a formidable position physically. Do not fret. These are the best of times. So, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the view as I have the opportunity to do so before I have to leave and not come back for quite some time. Trying to enjoy it as I can. Coming up here, this coming Saturday, I have a half marathon at Cedar City. So stay tuned for some content coming from that. I will be slowly dying as I race down that canyon, but at the same time, it's going to be an absolutely thrilling and incredible experience, and I can't wait for it. I'm super pumped, super excited, trying to get acclimated to the high elevation. The starting line for the race is at 8,200 feet elevation, which is a 25% reduction in available oxygen that I'm used to from my lands back in Ohio. So trying to get acclimated as much as I can. Here in the hotel, we're at 5,000 feet. So I've been able to do some work here, but I'm going to heading up to the mountains throughout this week to get up to higher elevations, 7,000 plus feet, to just get acclimated to the slight lack of oxygen. But all is well. So again, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in, and be on the lookout for more content as we also get ready for the Columbus Marathon. And we'll see how I personally can go after that. We'll see. So us here at A Possible Performance are striving to build a culture of strength, fostering a spirit of growth, in constant pursuit of the impossible. Take care, and as always, be impossible.